Chapter 81 Amon also has love. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It seems that Senior Dugu has understood this idea. Amon smiled. Doupo had a sudden feeling of seeing the sun through the clouds. He did not hide his inner joy and laughed heartily, ha ha ha. So that's what happened. Yes, it's that simple. He nodded to Amon. Yes, your method made me enlightened. Although my body has been integrated with the toxins because I have been practicing poison skills for too long, it would be suicide to force the toxins into my soul bones. But Yen can. Her cultivation is still shallow, so as long as she finds a soul bone, she can easily solve this problem. Very well, you go pick out the herbs. I will keep my promise. Doupo waved his hand, indicating to Amon that he was free, and then he just stood there and started thinking, following this line of thinking, reasoning about the specific steps to solve his own problem. Amon pinched the upper and lower edges of the monocle with his right index finger and thumb respectively, and sketched a smile. He began to wander around the valley. The most eye-catching thing is naturally the oval pool located in the center of the valley, the eye of ice and fire, the milky white spring water and the vermilion spring water each occupy half of the pool. They are clearly separated and do not infringe on each other. The milky white side exudes an aura of extreme cold, sending a bone-chilling chill, while the vermilion side is covered in extreme heat. Just getting close to it makes people feel as if their bodies are about to burn. Covering his whole body with a soul shield, Amon approached the water pool. Through the dense water vapor, he saw various precious herbs scattered around the ice and fire eyes. There are several kilograms of snow silkworms, an unusually large cinnabar lotus, and a pink, fragrant Chilua fairy, growing in the center of the Yin spring, with white octagonal shapes and an ice crystal-like center. 8 anise ice grass grows in the center of Cangqiong, looks like a cabbage, and has a fiery red fire apricot. He scanned the plants over and over again. Most of them were recorded in the fairy grass illustrated book Walter gave him, and a few were not recorded. After searching for a few times, Amon finally selected the target. It was a dark purple, lotus leaf-shaped herb with a pattern like a human face on the leaves, exuding black smoke, and looked quite strange and ominous. Soul-reinforcing grass, as the name suggests, can make people's souls stronger. It cannot directly strengthen the soul as a whole, but it can greatly enhance the soul's ability to resist blows, making it less susceptible to injury when it confronts others at the mental and soul levels. For Amon, it has another more important effect, increasing the number of Amon. What has always restricted the growth of Amon's number is that when the insect of time is separated, a part of the soul must also be split to carry consciousness. Although the divided soul will spontaneously complete itself, it does so very slowly. So much so that Amon is still in the accumulation period and does not dare to sacrifice his clones at will. After taking soul-strengthening grass, the soul becomes tougher, and the soul's share required to carry consciousness can naturally be smaller. Originally, Amon needed to divide at least half, that is, 5% of his soul to be able to carry a complete consciousness, but this fairy grass can reduce it to 4%, 3%, or even lower. Of course, further reducing the soul's share of the clone will cause the clone's cultivation speed to become slower, but it doesn't matter. Amon's clone never cultivates independently, and the soul power level is directly brushed up by breaking through the big stage bug and absorbing soul rings. After determining the primary target, he did not rush to take it down, but walked towards another fairy grass. It was a white flower the size of a palm, shaped like a peony, without grass leaves. On the white flower, there were several patches that looked like blood stains. Lovesickness red, even among the immortal grasses around the ice and fire eyes, is second to none. If it doesn't get its approval, even with the soul power of the title Douluo, it can't be destroyed. In the original work, when Douluo wanted to touch it, he was rejected by it with golden red light. Amon squatted down and reached out to touch its petals. There was no golden red light shining, and there was no need to spit out the essence and blood from Xiao Wu's heart like when Xiao Wu gained his approval. Amon just touched it smoothly. A smile appeared on his face. Sure enough, Lovesick will never reject her lover. This Amon clone is considered senior among all Amons, carrying nearly 20% of the soul share. he separated 1% of his soul and half of his soul power. In the palm of his hand, a translucent worm with 12 rings and a starry sky-like color appeared. The worm of time turned into a stream of light and disappeared into the heartbreaking red. On one petal, there was a darker white circle. Since he did not spit out his heart essence and blood, Amon did not become the master of lovesickness red, but the grass jelly itself did not resist him, so the parasitism was very smooth. After doing all this, he walked to the soul-solidifying grass and pulled it out of the soil simply and roughly. Compared with those fairy grasses that require special techniques to pick, soul-guarding grass seems to have no appearance. The moment it was pulled out, the soul-guarding grass let out a strange cry like a baby. Amon did not care about this strange situation, wrapped it in soul power and stuffed it into his arms. Then, his eyes wandered between fire apricot, coxcomb phoenix sunflower, and earth dragon pumpkin, thought for a while, and made a decision. Senior Dugu, I have made my choice. Amon walked to Dugu, who was still in deep thought, and said. Dugu used his mental power to scan the area. He remembered every herb around the yin-yang eye of ice and fire very clearly. After confirming that Amon had indeed only taken one, he nodded gently. Very good, it seems that you did not do anything you shouldn't have done. Dugu's dark green pupils looked at Amon, and his murderous intent was sometimes visible. Although he agreed to the deal and gave Amon a herb, he did not promise not to kill him. Amon's previous threat also made him feel uneasy, and seeing so many precious plants here, letting him leave was a hidden danger after all. However, it seemed not so good to kill him. First, the other party did give a feasible idea, and second, the so-called backhand might explode, leaking the news that he was poisoned and his combat power was only 1/10 of that on rainy days. Since Amon and Dugu had only spent a short time together, and did not discuss pharmacology with him like Tang San in the original novel, and they did not form a friendship of both teacher and friend, Dugu's attitude was not so kind. Dugu was silent for a long time, and still could not make a decision. The atmosphere between the two gradually became solemn. Sensing Dugu's hesitation, Amon suddenly chuckled and said again. Senior Dugu, do you want to make another deal with me? Chapter 82 The Secret Price. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Trade. What else do you have in mind? Dugu asked with interest. He expected Amon to bring him some more inspiration, but Amon shook his head. This time, what I want to trade is not an idea, but a soul bone. Are you ready to give your granddaughter a soul bone? Speaking of this, Dugu frowned. Soul bones are not so easy to get, even for him, a title Douluo, and for Dugu Yan's future, it would be better to get her a 10,000-year soul bone, which is even more rare. Soul bone, do you have it? Dugu asked without much expectation. No. Amon answered directly, but you can have it. Senior Dugu, you should know that the champion prize of this Soul Master competition is 3 10,000-year soul bones, right? I am confident that I can win the championship. I will use one of the soul bones and exchange it for another herb. How about it? You? A soul sect? Dugu had a hint of sarcasm on his face. Just now, Amon deliberately revealed a trace of soul power fluctuation, although his clone was only level 30, and it became even lower after splitting the time worm, but the first soul ring can release the stored soul power expressiveness at the right time to create a false impression for others. Well, my team is very strong, Senior, please give me a herb first, and I will give you the soul bone after we win the championship. To ensure that I will fulfill my promise. You can poison me, it will take effect in 2 years, and it will kill you without an antidote. Amon's tone was calm, but his eyes deliberately revealed a hint of madness that only gamblers would have. After a brief pause, he continued. Let's bet once. I will use my life to bet that my team can win the championship, and the senior will use the herb paid now to bet that he can harvest soul bones in the future. In the eyes of those who don't know the true value of immortal grass, they are obviously far less precious than soul bones. Which academy are you from? Northern Advanced Soul Master Academy. When Dugu heard about this unknown academy, he wanted to refuse. He knew how powerful the golden generation of the Spirit Hall was, but he changed his mind and agreed. If he agreed to this deal, he could poison this kid legitimately. He would be controlled by me, so he would not easily reveal the matter of the medicine garden. With this thought, Doupo smiled. Okay, this is what you said, I will poison you. If you can't give me a soul bone, I don't want your life, you just need to help me study poisons later. He took out a green pill and handed it to Amon. This is the 7 insects and 7 stars grass, which is made from a mixture of 7 poisonous insects and 7 poisonous grasses. You need to take the antidote once a year to delay the onset. Amon took the pill without hesitation and swallowed it directly. As an Amon clone, he voluntarily sacrificed for Amon as a whole. Very good. Doupo nodded with a smile, and handed another red pill to Amon. This is the antidote. If you take it when the poison attacks in 1 year, it will delay the time for 1 year. 2 years later, you must come here to find me, otherwise you will die. Also, you must not tell anyone what you saw in my medicine garden after you go out, otherwise, you can't even think about getting the antidote. The key to this transaction is not the soul bone, but Amon needs to give a reason to let himself be controlled by Doupo, so that Doupo can let him go with confidence and bring the fairy grass back to the original body. As for the antidote or not, as a clone, would I care about this? And whether I can exist for a year is a question, Amon's clone secretly complained. You can go and choose the herbs, and leave immediately after choosing, don't disturb me while I study the detoxification method. Doupo waved his hand with some disdain. Amon walked to the yin-yang eye of fire and ice, used the materialized soul power to transform into a pair of hands, and picked up the earth dragon gourd, which was prepared for Yen Jin. In fact, among the 3 fire apricot delicate shoe, coxcomb phoenix sunflower, and earth dragon gourd, fire apricot delicate shoe is the most suitable for Yen Jin. The fire poison that is violent and fierce for ordinary people is actually an excellent tonic for Yen Jin who has a magma martial spirit. Among the latter two, coxcomb phoenix sunflower is too mild in medicinal properties, and is not as thick and fierce as earth dragon gourd. Yen Jin's fighting style has a tendency to work hard to create miracles, and earth dragon gourd is more suitable. As for why he didn't give her fire apricot delicate shoe, it was naturally because it was to be left for Tang San, in secret. Amon's god-making ceremony requires replacing the position of that person in the god-making ceremony of others. Although Amon is still unclear will he have such ability in the future, and whether this method is applicable in Douluo, but this does not prevent him from preparing for a rainy day and making such preparations now. There are currently 3 targets available for selection, namely Bibi Dong, Xian Renshue, and Tang San. Among them, Bibi Dong has grown up and is the contemporary pope of the Spirit Hall. A powerful person at the level of title Douluo, whose level is likely to be close to level 99, is not a target that can be easily planned. Xian Renshue disguised as Prince Xueqinghe, with 2 title Douluo guarding by his side, Ci Shui and Shilong, many soul masters under him, and Qian Daolu, a near-god strongman behind him, is not a good choice either. Only Tang San in the early stage has a clear growth trajectory and is still weak. Although he has a Tang Hao guarding him, Tang Hao is only one person after all, and it is impossible for him to watch him all the time, so he is the easiest to control. And as long as he gets the Hanhai Qingquan cover, he can delay or promote his progress in becoming a god. On the whole, Tang San is the most ideal ritual material for Amon. Amon can't leave the ready-made materials unused and go to the trouble of cultivating himself, therefore, it is necessary to try to keep Tang San's growth trajectory in the original work. If there is a problem in any link, it will be a troublesome thing for Amon. However, Amon will also properly control Tang San's growth progress. If he feels that he grows too fast and is too strong, he will suppress him. If he grows too slowly, he will give him a certain motivation, including but not limited to his lover being seriously injured and dying, being hunted, his friends being killed, etc., and some opportunities that can improve his strength. Tang San is only about level 30 now, and Amon doesn't need to be vigilant and suppressed, of course. Focusing on Tang San does not mean completely giving up the other 2 options. There is a possibility of mistakes in the plan and the possibility of failure in the ritual. The more opportunities to try, the better. Amon used a soul shield to cover the earth dragon gourd to prevent the smell of the medicine from attracting soul beasts. Then, he wrapped the big gourd with a piece of cloth and threw it over his shoulder. Senior Dugu, I'm leaving first. Amon informed. Let's go, don't bother me. Amon raised his hand and stroked his monocle. With a satisfied smile on his face, he stepped on the soul petal condensed in the air and jumped out of the valley. Before leaving, he looked back and stared at the valley for a moment. Hee, it's time to come. You must take this gift of fate well. Chapter 83 Flame Dragon. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. When Amon walked out of the canyon where the ice and fire eyes were, there was already another Amon waiting outside. This is a gathering of many insects of time, Amon, who came specially to escort the fairy grass. Here. Amon, who walked out of the canyon, carried the cloth bag on his shoulder in front of him, took out the soul-stabilizing grass wrapped in soul power from his arms, and handed the two to the newcomer. Amon. Thank you for your hard work. Amon nodded and took the fairy grass, in order to gather strength to the greatest extent and ensure that the grass jelly can be returned safely. Amon, who serves as the signal base station, also gathered together, so they lost contact with the main body. Leave 4 Amon behind and monitor the movements in the valley. This is the last instruction given by the main body. Converging Amon looked at Amon who had merged with him with a smile. 3 streams of light flew out of his body and merged into the latter's body. Ah, this. Amon, who brought out the fairy grass, opened his mouth but stopped talking. I'm sure we must all be clones that the main body doesn't want to see. Amon's voice sounded in his heart. Yes, this is the persecution of the clone. Amon complained. Obviously we are all components of his personality. Without us, this part of his personality would be dispersed to the rest of Amon. It's because of your character that the main body will keep you here. Amon said as he brought out the fairy grass. Monitoring the valley where the ice and fire eyes are located is definitely a high-risk job. Not only do you need to avoid the powerful soul beasts around you, you also have to guard against being discovered by Dugu. When Amon splits his clones, he cannot completely control each Amon's personality and can only roughly determine its tendencies. Among all Amon clones, the closer the personality is to the ontology, the higher the value. Of course, there is no Amon that is completely consistent with the ontology, which will confuse the subject status, and those who were left behind, except for the poison Amon, were all more out of the box and relatively less valuable, although if one of the Amons dies, his personality will be dispersed to all the clones, but this does not prevent the Amons from arranging dangerous jobs for them. Aren't you also left behind? The purpose of my stay is to preside over and supervise you to complete the task properly. Amon, who brought out the fairy grass, had a touch of helplessness in his tone. Oh, because you were poisoned, your value has been greatly reduced. This is the truth. This is really a sad story for Amon. There was Amon who didn't care about his existence at all, and he laughed at the poisoned Amon with a fun-loving attitude. Shut up. By a small stream, Yen Jin looked at the sound of water reflecting the firelight on the water. The firelight came from a fiery red soul beast on the other side of the stream. It looked like a big lion, with wings growing from its back, 2 horns that curved forward from both sides of its head, and 2 sharp fangs protruding from its upper lip. A tail with flames burning at the end swings casually. Its limbs are slender, and the 4 legs are also burning with flames. Meow. The soul beast looked at the rock embers on the other side, which was less than the size of its head. With obvious curiosity, Yen Jin tilted her head, remembering the characteristics of the target that Amon had described to her before she came, and shouted excitedly. Amon, old man, come on, here. As she said that, she had already punched him. Big fire breathing. In such a dangerous place, there are naturally many clones of the worm of time in her body. While attacking, the time insect had already merged with her martial soul, improving her soul power level and continuously replenishing it. Be careful, this guy must be over 10,000 years old, estimated to be around 13,000 years old. Amon's voice rang in her mind. In other words, the Soul Emperor level. I feel like I can beat him. Yen Jin said with some confidence. However, the next second, her expression suddenly changed, because the magma bombarded the opponent, only making him take a few steps back, and there was no injury at all. It is extremely resistant to high temperatures. Yan Jin has always been able to fight across a large stage by relying on the terrifying destructive power of the magma spirit, but now facing the Flame King Dragon, the effect is greatly reduced. Help, old man, I can't beat you. She made a quick decision and ran away. The Flame King Dragon shook its head and was stunned when Yan Jin punched it on the head. Although it is not too old, there are very few people who dare to provoke it in the Sunset Forest. After the initial shock, it reacted and let out an angry roar. Meow, ow, thud! It spread its wings and instantly flew over the rock embers, opening its mouth to spit out cherry-red flames. Sensing the danger, Yan Jin used his second soul skill, soul power ejection, and blessed it on himself. He jumped several meters away and avoided the flames. She felt a strong threat from the cherry-red flames. Amon, it's so strange, it doesn't feel very hot, but it is very dangerous. She frowned and asked in her mind. This is the ability of the Flame King Dragon. It can control the flame and burn the target it wants to burn without harming others. Amon replied. Is this the target ability of my next soul ring? Yes, look carefully at its flames. Yan Jin dodged while observing the cherry-red flames, and found that except for the flame that was sprayed out at the beginning, the Flame King Dragon did not spray again, but the flames have always existed. They are like possessing intelligence, forming fire snakes that rush towards Yan Jin. Wherever the flames pass, not even a blade of grass is ignited. What's the use of this? Yan Jin was puzzled. Amon explained. The flame can burn objects because heat energy is transferred from high-temperature objects to low-temperature objects, and the low-temperature object cannot withstand the transferred heat and will be destroyed. The flame of the Flame King Dragon will not burn objects outside its target, which means that heat energy is not transferred and energy is not lost, which allows its flame to exist all the time with almost no consumption. Yan Jin still didn't understand. Amon continued. If you gain this ability, then in the future, as long as the magma you create does not touch the target you want to attack, there will be no heat loss, and it can exist all the time without consuming much soul power to maintain it. The magma produced by Yan Jin is consumed in maintaining it, and this consumption is proportional to the volume of the magma summoned. If it is just covering the fist and using close combat, the consumption is naturally small enough to be ignored, but once the magma is produced on a large scale and a saturation attack is carried out, the consumption for maintenance will become very huge. I understand. In short, you have to absorb its spirit ring with the idea of gaining the ability to control heat loss, right? Yes. Amon did not continue to speak. As for whether Yan Jin really understood, he was not sure. Based on past experience, Yan Jin did not understand, and did not need to understand. She was obedient enough, and that was enough. Chapter 84 Heat Blockage. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. When Yan Jin was fighting with the Flame King Dragon, Walter had already arrived, but he did not rush to attack, but hid behind a tree to observe. Not only was he observing Yan Jin's performance when facing an opponent that was far stronger than him, but he was also secretly setting up a dragnet with invisible threads to ensure that the Flame King Dragon could not escape. After all, this is a 10,000-year-old soul beast that can fly. If it flies into the sky, Walter, who is not a flying soul master, will not have a good way to capture it even if he is a contra. Meow. The Flame King Dragon howled, waved its right paw, and cherry-red flames suddenly exploded. Then, as if a chain reaction occurred, explosions continued, drowning the rock in an instant. A cunning smile appeared on Yan Wanglong's face. While it was controlling the fire attack, it was also spreading tiny flammable dust. When the range was large enough and the prey could not escape, it would detonate it. Since it is a range attack, the damage is not high, but as long as it can hinder the opponent's actions for a moment, it is enough. It lunged forward. As soon as Yan Jin untied the hemispherical rock shield, he saw the Yanwang dragon rushing towards him like a hungry tiger pouncing on food. Just as he was about to condense the lava giant soldier for a desperate fight, he saw the body of Yan Wanglong suddenly stop in mid-air. With panic and fear on his face, the interweaving of silk threads, which is imperceptible to the naked eye, restricts its movement. There seemed to be an invisible sharp blade passing by. A pair of wings fell from the sky, and the Flame King dragon let out a wail. Later, its limbs were also cut off, its mouth was blocked, and blood marks appeared on its body. Within a moment, the dying Flame King dragon slid down the silk thread and landed in front of Yan Jin. Walter walked out from behind the trees with a smile. Very good performance. Now, kill it quickly and absorb the soul ring. This was the first time Yan Jin saw Walter take action, with a hint of fear on his face. Old man, how did you do it? Why did the big cat's body suddenly fall apart just now? Walter spread his right forearm flat, and a white ball of wool appeared in his hand, which looked like the kind ordinary people use to knit clothes. He explained to Yan Jin, this is my martial soul, the thread ball. Combined with my soul skills, it can create extremely thin threads invisible to the naked eye for attack. Originally, these fire-type soul beasts were my nemesis, because the threads are easily ignited, but I am a soul Douluo after all, and its foundation is still a little lacking. Oh, that's it. Yan Jin nodded, formed a long sword with magma, and then activated his third soul skill to lower its temperature. She used the solidified stone sword to chop off the head of Yan Wanglong. A black soul ring emerged from the bloody corpse, emitting a dark light. Yan Jin waved to the soul ring and used her soul power to pull it closer to her martial soul. Then, she sat down cross-legged and began to absorb the soul ring. The surging energy and resentment about death came like a flood, but with the help of the Worm of Time, this did not cause any trouble. The energy was diverted and was stuck at the limit that Yan Jin could bear. The resentment was intercepted and drowned in endless gibbering. A few hours later, Yan Jin opened his eyes, with a hint of joy on his face. I succeeded. Amon, who was sitting on the tree trunk, stroked his monocle with his hand. I have created such good conditions for you. If you can't absorb it anymore, you might as well go home and farm. Walter was not as calm as Amon, and the joy on his face was no less than Yan Jin. Okay. The fourth soul ring lasts for 10,000 years, and the future is limitless. Child, what kind of abilities have you gained? Walter asked. As Amon estimated, my fourth soul ring is a permanent ability, which allows my magma to only burn the target I want to burn. Hey, old man, you don't have to worry about me causing havoc and sending you a bunch of bills again. With that said, Yan Jin released his martial spirit, covered his right hand, and grabbed Walter's palm. Walter did not dodge, nor did he release his soul power to resist, and just let Yan Jin catch him. He felt like he was holding a ball of mud, with a hint of warmth. Amon jumped off the branch and touched the lava. The warm touch made him understand that Yan Jin's fourth soul ring could not completely prevent the heat loss, but it was so slow that it was almost negligible. The trip to the Sunset Forest ended perfectly. They didn't make any further stops and immediately came to the nearest town, preparing to take a short rest before returning to the Northland. As soon as they entered the city, Yan Jin pulled the two of them and rushed to the nearest restaurant. Serve the dishes, serve all the most delicious ones. Walter looked at her energetic appearance with a kind and helpless smile on his face. Amon's body took over two immortal grasses from his clone's hands. He casually placed the Earth Dragon Golden Melon on the table and picked up the dark purple soul-retaining grass and looked at it carefully. He did not eat it directly, because the soul-refining grass will solidify the soul of the whole body while making the soul tough. If taken directly, it will only cause the death of the eater. It needs to be used with a large amount of soul-refining grass at the same time. After taking the soul-solidifying grass, consume 1 kilogram of soul-refining grass to ensure the minimum flow of soul power. The next day, he consumed 1 kilogram of soul-refining grass again, which made the slow flow of soul power smoother. On the third day, after consuming 1 kilogram of soul-refining grass again, the solidification of soul power was completely resolved and the flow rate returned to normal. TSK. I still need to get at least 3 kilograms of soul-refining grass. Amon stroked his monocle and put the soul-refining grass into the space ring. Bortham City, City Lord's mansion. A man in a red dress with large golden patterns and a neatly trimmed mustache above his lips and chin was stopped by the guards at the door. Asshole, do you know who I am? I am Count Ross, how dare you stop me? Golan said angrily. Sorry, Count Ross, the City Lord is not here for something, please go back. Holmes walked out of the mansion and said politely but firmly. Is Kuburo deliberately avoiding me? Golan's tone was slightly slower. Of course not, the city lord has been away for more than half a month. If there is any official business, you can tell me directly, and I will discuss it with the chief tax officer and the city lord's housekeeper. Holmes said neither servile nor arrogant. After a pause, he continued, of course, if it is within my authority, I will definitely not shirk it. Humph. Golan did not continue to pester and walked away unhappily. Captain Holmes, I heard that Earl Ross has always been inclined towards the spirit hall. What does he want to see the city lord for? The captain of the guards behind Holmes asked, pinching his eyes. I don't know. These nobles are not sincere. Who knows what their real stance is? These are not what we should consider. Holmes shook his head and said indifferently. Chapter 85 Eating Melon. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. The cold moonlight sprinkled on the ground, making the world not seem dark. In the courtyard, the fountain gurgled, and the sound of the water flow was particularly loud in the quiet night. Amon sat on an elegant and luxurious high-backed chair, with his legs crossed, leaning against the back of the chair and closing his eyes to take a nap. Yen Jin sneakily opened the door and poked his head in. Amon, are you looking for me? Looking at her thief-like performance. Amon had a hunch that she had probably done something stupid again. Sure enough, before he could speak, Yen Jin had already revealed his family background. I really didn't mean it this time. Who knew that the two soul masters were so weak? I didn't even use my soul skills. I punched them one by one and they went to the hospital. Do you think I care about these little things? Amon said calmly. Oh, indeed not. Yen Jin patted his chest, which was beginning to show its outline, and relaxed. What's the matter? How much soul-refining grass do you have left? Amon knew that Walter would provide Yen Jin with 1 kilogram of soul-refining grass every month to help her practice. This was also the largest expenditure among all Walter's funding. If Yen Jin had more than 3 kilograms, Amon would directly exchange it with her for the Earth Dragon Golden Gourd. If not, he would go to Walter. Although the Earth Dragon Golden Gourd might not reach Yen Jin's hands in the second way, he would not wait for it specially. Yen Jin took out a somewhat old dark red bag from the space ring. This was bought by Amon for her, and she had been using it since the Ice Wind Junior Soul Master Academy. Hey, look. Yen Jin handed the bulging bag to Amon. I saved it secretly, I thought you might use it. Amon picked up the bag and estimated the weight. The soul-refining grass inside was about 4 kilograms. After a moment of silence, he said. Then let's exchange. I'll use this to exchange your soul-refining grass. He took out the Earth Dragon Golden Melon. In an instant, the room was filled with the fragrance of medicine. Yen Jin felt that her martial soul was ready to move, as if it was instinctively craving it. Just judging from the fragrance, she knew that the quality of this golden melon was definitely far superior to the snow lotus that Walter gave her. Amon, what about you? Yen Jin swallowed his saliva and restrained the desire in his heart. Do you want to exchange? Amon stroked his monocle and said with a chuckle. Change. Yen Jin nodded hurriedly and picked up the big melon. Remember to return the small bag to me. Also, how do you eat this thing? Just eat it directly. Your martial spirit is very compatible. Yen Jin did not hesitate and started to eat it immediately. Amon took out the herbs in the dark red small bag and guarded Yen Jin on the side. He extended his soul power outward, covering the entire house and materializing it, then activated the skill of the first soul ring, stealing the soul power expression in the soul power shield. So that Yen Jin's soul power fluctuations when absorbing the Earth Dragon Golden Melon could not be transmitted to the outside world. After several hours, the sky in the east was a fish belly white. The night had passed and the day had come. Yen Jin finally exited the refining state, opened her eyes, looked at Amon, and said uncertainly. I seem to be level 49. And it seems that it is not far from breaking through to level 50. Before, she had absorbed the soul ring beyond the age limit and her soul power level was already level 43. Now she has increased it by 6 levels by absorbing the Earth Dragon Golden Melon. at this moment, even she herself felt that it was a bit absurd. She had just been promoted to Soul Sect, and it seemed that she could be promoted again immediately. Feeling the power filling her body, she looked at Amon with shining eyes, showing an eager expression. Amon, I remember you seem to be only level 45. I am higher than you. Amon knew that she was itching again when he saw her like this, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Why, do you want to try? Try it, that they came to the training ground in the backyard. Vidal had made some modifications to the property before, and specially added a training ground to satisfy Yen Jin, who was too energetic, so that she would not demolish the house at any time. Boom. The surging soul power emerged from Yen Jin, and the magma martial spirit appeared in his hand, accompanied by rising flames and black smoke, and rolling heat waves spread in all directions. Vidal suddenly woke up, subconsciously looked out of the window, saw Yen Jin on the training ground, and got into bed again, cursing. Damn it, early in the morning, why are you making so much noise? But soon he realized that something seemed amiss, and he hurriedly got up again, feeling Yen Jin's momentum, with doubt in his eyes. Soul Sect. It doesn't look like you've just entered the Soul Sect. Big fire spray. Yen Jin confidently raised his huge lava fist and rushed towards Amon. Amon smiled, stretched out his hand and grabbed forward, using the fourth soul skill he had just obtained, the active part of Fire Thief, soul skill Steel. He did not activate the third soul skill Insight to cooperate with it, because he wanted to steal Yen Jin's first soul skill. He was very familiar with the skill's soul power condensation, and the ring number was low, so there was almost no possibility of failure. Yen Jin was horrified to find that his first soul skill was dormant and his martial soul began to be out of his control. The huge lava fist disintegrated into a ball, and finally only a thin layer of arm armor was left attached to the arm, still under her control. How to fight? Yen Jin was dumbfounded. That. She braked suddenly and stopped in front of Amon, without giving her time to talk nonsense. Amon kicked her in the stomach and kicked her away. Yen Jin slid a long way on the ground, holding his stomach, until he stopped at the edge of the training ground. Amon didn't hold back too much. Anyway, Yen Jin had either beaten people or been beaten since he was a child. He grew up being beaten, so he was very tough, and now he had eaten the Earth Dragon Golden Pumpkin, which made him even more resistant to beatings. Yen Jin got up, complained bitterly, and looked at Amon in panic. What did you do? Why can't I use my soul skills? This is my ability. Amon didn't explain too much. Don't panic, I can use it in a day. Oh, so that's it. Yen Jin felt empty in her heart. She felt very uncomfortable that her first soul skill could not be used. Without hesitation, she said decisively. I surrender. Heh. Amon chuckled, not surprised, and returned Yen Jin's skills. Yen Jin felt that the silent soul ring lit up again and could be used again, and the feeling of emptiness in his heart disappeared. What kind of weird soul skill is this? Why do I feel that all your soul skills are completely different from others? Yen Jin couldn't help but complain. But it's very useful, isn't it? By the way, don't tell Walter about the Earth Dragon Golden Gourd and your soul power level of 49 within a week. Amon warned. Okay. Yen Jin nodded. Vidal, who was looking down from his room, held his chin. The 4 bright soul rings of Yen Jin just made him dizzy, and the 4th soul ring was black. Not long ago, he was still complacent about being 38th level and expected to become a Soul Master before the opening of the Soul Master competition. At this time, there was a bit of inexplicable loss. Anyone who gets along with such a monster would feel that he was a little bit unpresentable. Chapter 86 Eating Grass. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. After leaving his clone behind, Amon left Baidar's house and came to the place he rented. He used his soul power to seal the house, and arranged several clones to guard the surroundings, and then took out the soul-fixing grass. As soon as he left the space ring, the soul-fixing grass made a strange, baby-like cry. The sound was sharp and piercing, and the face on the leaves seemed to come alive, making a painful and twisted expression. Black smoke spread, and a stench with rotten branches and leaves filled the house. Amon tsk and whispered to himself, "This thing doesn't look decent at all." Without too much scruples, he opened his mouth and swallowed it directly. After swallowing it, he immediately took out the soul-refining grass and swallowed it in big mouthfuls, so as not to be unable to move after the effect of the soul-fixing grass took effect. After he did all this, he suddenly felt a little cold, and his soul power could not be mobilized, like sticky, coagulating blood. This is because the 1 kilogram of soul-refining grass accelerated the flow of soul power. Otherwise, at this moment, his soul power would become his death warrant. Amon closed his eyes, his face was pale, and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. He felt that his soul was torn and glued together, and then repeatedly beaten by a hammer. After 3 hours, he finally recovered a little ability to move. He gasped, rubbed his eyebrows, got up and walked to the bed to lie down. The Amons who were guarding on the side also felt dizzy, and even the soul shield was a little unstable. The team leader who was patrolling on the street staggered and did not fall down with the help of his subordinates. "What's wrong, Captain?" "It's okay. Maybe I drank too much yesterday and haven't recovered yet." The guard team leader explained casually. Chores sweeping the floor in the Wuhuan Hall, supported by a broom, came to the corner and sat down slowly. In the library of Beatty College, the librarian put down the book and rubbed his eyebrows. The newly hired coachman of the Ross family fell off the carriage. Fortunately, the carriage was parked at the gate of the city lord's mansion and was not moving. Passers-by on the side couldn't help but feel lucky for him. Otherwise, the poor coachman would probably be beaten to death by the bad-tempered count. At this moment, all the clones that could contact Amon's body were more or less affected. There was even an unlucky clone who was enjoying the scenery on the roof and rolled down from a high place, broke his neck, and died unfortunately. His death was a bit ridiculous. 3 days later, Amon recovered from weakness, sensed the state of the clones, and smiled with satisfaction. Not bad. Most of his clones carried their will with the smallest soul share, and their souls were under extreme load. Under the power of the soul-fixing grass, the toughness of the soul was greatly improved, and many Amons felt a sense of relief from the depths of their souls. At this time, only the original body has completed the soul transformation, and the rest are still in the process of continuous and slow transformation, which will take some time to complete. Amon's clones are too many, and the total amount of souls is huge. Even with the power of the fairy grass, it is impossible to change them all at once. However, when thinking of the unlucky clone who was killed by the fall, Amon was speechless and reflected on himself. "I was not careful enough this time, and I ignored the impact that the soul transformation of the original body may bring to the clone. In addition, you must also pay attention to this when going to certain dangerous areas and fighting special enemies in the future. If you encounter a bad situation, cut off the contact in time, so as not to implicate the entire Amon group, or be found by the other party through the contact. After all, soul skills are all kinds of strange, and all kinds of them are possible." At this time, a message from a clone caught Amon's attention. Marquis Fekris was assassinated and fell into a coma after being seriously injured. Amon pinched the upper and lower edges of the monocle with his index finger and thumb respectively, and the corners of his mouth slightly raised, revealing a smile. Hee. Interesting. In Tiendo City, in the palace, a man wearing a dragon robe and a crown, who looked a little old, was holding the scepter tightly, with uncontrollable anger in his eyes. Asshole. A real marquis was assassinated in his own territory in broad daylight. Who can tell me what happened? Prince Xueqinghe stepped forward and said calmly, "Father, calm down. Marquis Fikres is a powerful soul emperor. The person who can assassinate him must be even more terrible. Although it is also important to catch the murderer, the top priority now is to stabilize the situation in the north. As a representative figure of nobles loyal to the royal family, Marquis Fikres's coma will definitely cause turmoil in the north. We have to guard against it." Soul Palace, Emperor Shui restrained his anger, but anyone could feel that under this calm surface, there was even more anger. "Qinghe, what do you think we should do now?" Emperor Shui asked. Xueqinghe held his chin and answered after a little thought, "It should have been time for the Lord of Beatty City to come back to report on his work. He is to blame for what happened. However, it is not appropriate to change people at this time. The situation in the north is complicated. It is tantamount to changing generals in the middle of a battle to rashly replace unfamiliar people. So I think that we should send old and steady ministers to form a nominal investigation team to catch the murderer, but actually go to Beatty City to help Kubro stabilize the situation. After the situation stabilizes, let Lord Kubro return to Tiendo City to explain the situation. Emperor Shui nodded slightly, satisfied with Xueqinghe's answer. Then who do you think is more suitable to go? Lord Mischief. Xueqinghe answered confidently without hesitation. Mischief. Emperor Shui pondered for a moment and was about to nod in agreement. At this moment, Prince Xueqing suddenly said, "Since the assassin is powerful, why don't we ask Mr. Dugu to go?" Dugu. Xian Rinxue, who was disguised as Xueqinghe, was alert in his heart, but did not show it on the surface. If Mr. Dugu is willing to go to the north, it would be great. Someone reminded, Mr. Dugu said before that he was going to retreat and practice some kind of poisonous skills, so let's not disturb him before he comes out. This. Xueqing was a little caught off guard and asked, did he say when he could come out? No. The person who reminded just now answered. Then send Mischief to lead 3 soul saint-level worshippers to Beatty City first. After Mr. Dugu comes out of retreat, tell him about this. If he doesn't want to go to Beatty, don't force him. Emperor Shui made a decision. After the meeting, Emperor Shui looked at Xueqinghe's departing back with a deep gaze. After walking out of the palace, 2 figures suddenly appeared behind Xueqinghe. They appeared so naturally, without any sense of abruptness, as if they had always been there. Your Highness, why did you recommend Mischief instead of our people? Xi Shui asked. Emperor Shui is not an idiot. Even for me, the Crown Prince, he is on guard. When he said the word Crown Prince, a faint mockery appeared on his face. The layout of Beatty has been completed. Next, we just need to wait patiently. The final move will still be made by Tiendo City. Chapter 87, The Northern Plan. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. In the city lord's mansion, Goran sat on a chair, waiting for Kubro's arrival. He frowned, with a little nervousness in his expression. Count Ross, I heard that you have come to me several times. Is there anything important? Kubro walked into the meeting room and said in a stiff tone. Seeing Kubro, Goran's pupils shrank for a while. He finally confirmed his guess and whispered. My wife's cousin, Bishop Platinum of Saras, has been to the Northland City. His martial soul is Ghost Bug, which is very sensitive to the breath of life. He can feel that the Kubro in front of him has no vitality of a living person. Kubro fell silent and looked at Goran with cold eyes. He suddenly smiled. It seems that you have discovered it. Then come in and talk. The second voice did not come from Kubro's mouth, but from the room further back. This voice was calm but old, not like the voice of a middle-aged man like Kubro. Kubro's entire body suddenly collapsed, turning into countless threads and pulling away to the back. Goran walked in from a door on the side and saw an old man in a black robe, Walter. One of the 4 platinum bishops of the Spirit Hall. At this moment, he was sitting on the chair that should have been sat by the Lord of the Northland City, holding a teacup in his hand. How did you find out? Walter asked. Goran bowed slightly and replied. I spend more time in the Northland City, and it is easier for me to detect some hidden things than others. Just like Mr. Walter, I knew about your being in the Northland City a year and a half ago. Then I paid more attention to the City Lord's mansion and the Spirit Hall. The City Lord is a soul master who is keen on cultivation. He rarely shows up, and doesn't participate in social activities much. This is understandable in itself, but it seems a bit unusual when you, Mr. Walter, are here. In later observations, I found that the time period when the City Lord was in seclusion and did not see people generally overlaps with the time period when you, Mr. Walter, left Beatty City. The characteristics of your carriage are very obvious. The guards at the city gate can tell by paying a little attention. In addition, when Sarath left, he also gave me some hints. He asked me to take time to visit the City Lord. Walter smiled. the last reason is the key that you can be sure of, right? Yes. Goran nodded in agreement. I don't know when you, Mr. Walter, started. 2 years ago, as early as 2 years ago, there was no city lord, and I have been handling government affairs. Although he had already guessed it, Walter's answer still frightened Goran. An important official of the empire disappeared silently, and the power he possessed was secretly occupied by another person for 2 years. How terrible! Goran suppressed his shock and asked. Mr. Walter, what is your purpose? Whether it is Lord Kubero or Marquis Fekris, their unexpected encounters will inevitably arouse the vigilance of the royal family. Because of Sarath's relationship, he is not worried that Walter will take action against him, and directly puts his position on the side of the Spirit Hall. Walter smiled. This is what His Royal Highness the Crown Prince meant. Your Royal Highness the Crown Prince. Goran was slightly stunned. He thought that the relationship between the Spirit Hall and the Empire had reached the point of being at loggerheads, but he did not expect Walter to mention the Crown Prince. Walter explained. Yes, Your Royal Highness the Crown Prince, he is close to the Spirit Hall, and he also believes that the relationship between the Empire and us should not be so tense. There are many people in the Spirit Hall who support the prince. But Feixili only recognizes Emperor Shuya and turns a blind eye to the prince's goodwill and solicitation. We need a northern province loyal to the prince. I have this plan, and it is also a coincidence. Some little guys let me see the opportunity. Little guy. Golan suddenly thought of the team that represented the Northland Academy in the Soul Master competition. Alia? Is Alia the person you arranged? So that's it. Once Marquis Feixili died, she also had the right of inheritance without a designated heir. If she can perform better in the Soul Master competition and win the favor of Emperor Shuya, then she will get the support of the royal family. And Earl Tieshin. Vidal is the heir of Earl Tieshin, and she is a teammate, so Earl Tieshin will also become her ally. And when she inherits the title of Marquis, she should continue the previous trade agreement between Ironheart territory and Felici's territory, which is what Earl Ironheart is happy to see. In addition, Brandy also won the second place in the individual competition and will join the team as a substitute. In the next period of time, as long as Alia reaches some agreements with him, it will not be difficult to get the support of his father, Earl Lionheart. Golan showed a look of realization. He understood Walter's plan. Once successful, an alliance consisting of Marquis Felicis, Earl Ironheart, and Earl Lionheart will be formed. Under this alliance, the rest of the nobles in the north can only attach themselves to it. At that time, the entire north will become part of the prince's power. Do you need me to do anything? Golan couldn't remain indifferent. Since he knew about the upcoming alliance, he naturally had to participate in it early and couldn't be excluded. Just support Alia at the right time. Whether she can inherit the title of Marquis is still a question, and Vidal's inheritance is not so stable. Whether they can succeed depends on whether they can achieve results in the Soul Master competition and show amazing talents. Walter smiled faintly, looking confident. Soul Master competition. Golan couldn't help but think of the terrible giant who was full of oppression. He suddenly realized that intervening in the participating teams with tough means and failing to do intelligence work in advance was the stupidest thing he had done during this period. Amon. Is the captain of that team also your man, Mr. Walter? Golan asked a little nervously. He. You did do a stupid thing, but don't worry, I have paid the price for you. That little guy is not a simple character. The reason why Walter confessed all this to Goran directly was because it was in his plan. Even if Goran didn't come to him, he would contact Goran at the right time. Close to the Spirit Hall, his wife is Sarath's cousin, and Count Ross himself is one of Walter's selected allies of Alia. Otherwise, he would not have paid for Goran's mistakes before. They discussed some details again, and it was not until the afternoon that Count Ross got up and said goodbye. After he walked out, Walter looked up. His eyes seemed to penetrate the bricks and tiles, and saw the figure standing above. He said lightly, "Since the sound has been revealed, why hide your head and show your tail? I just don't want to disturb your conversation with Count Ross." A man wearing a classical robe, a pointed soft hat, and a monocle on his right eye jumped off the roof and flipped in from a window on the side. He put his right hand on the lens of his right eye, with a faint smile on his face. Chapter 88: The Choice of a 50,000-Year Soul Beast. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. So there is such a big plan behind this. No wonder Mr. Walter is willing to hunt soul beasts up to 50,000 years old for me. It seems that my cooperation is still very valuable. Amon clapped his hands and said in a slightly exaggerated tone. Walter did not comment. Don't pretend, I don't believe you didn't notice it at all. If you didn't notice it, you wouldn't be standing here now. For Amon, Walter basically regarded him as his own, so there was not much to avoid, although it was not stated. In fact, their cooperation had begun since Ali had joined. It was this tacit understanding that made Walter recognize Amon's ability and treat him with a more equal attitude. Amon curled his lips and smiled. Then, can Mr. Walter introduce me? I also hope to be valued by His Royal Highness the Crown Prince. You don't need to say more about this. I will do it naturally. Selecting talents is also one of my tasks. Walter nodded and did not refuse. By the way, in the Soul Master competition, remember to let Alia perform more and show her excellence as much as possible. I will. This is their stage. I am just the one who sends them to the stage. Amon told Walter that he would not be so conspicuous that others would not have a sense of existence. After a brief pause, he said again, in fact, I want to discuss with you the distribution of the prizes for the champion of the Soul Master competition. Walter looked a little strange. The competition hasn't even started yet, and you are already thinking about the prizes for the champion. Although Amon and Yen Jin showed enough talent and strength, he was still not optimistic because the other people in the team were a little weaker than the Wuhuan Hall team. Moreover, they don't have enough coordination. It's okay to deal with weaker teams, but once they face a strong team, this weakness will be magnified. Yen Jin is already level 49. Amon said leisurely. Walter's eyes widened. What? Say it again. Amon spread his hands. Yen Jin is level 49. Walter felt that his brain was not enough. Didn't she absorb the spirit ring just a few days ago? You should have more confidence in your apprentice. Amon smiled. You can't be so confident even if you have confidence. Am I surprised by what I have seen? Obviously, you are the ones with problems. Walter complained in his heart. Are you serious? Walter's voice was a little hurried, and it was difficult to calm down. Compared with Yen Jin, even the golden generation would be eclipsed. Well, she was lucky and ate a dragon gourd. Amon said casually. Walter's eyes narrowed slightly. He had also seen the fairy grass encyclopedia, but he didn't study it too deeply. No wonder you want the encyclopedia. You already have this rare treasure in your hand. Well, I got 2 plants by chance. I didn't know how to use them, and I didn't dare to eat them randomly. I just ate them a few days ago, and the effect was surprisingly good. Since Amon asked for the encyclopedia before going to Sunset Forest, and he had been moving with them in the forest, Walter didn't doubt that he got the fairy grass in Sunset Forest. What level are you now? Walter asked. Level 45, the effect of the treasure I ate is to enhance mental resistance, and not all herbs have the good effect of Earth Dragon Golden Gourd. Amon replied. Walter looked at Amon with some surprise. He really didn't expect Amon to be willing to share such a precious thing with Yen Jin, and it seemed that he gave her the best one, and his eyes softened a little. He asked with a hint of hope, do you have any more? Amon shook his head. Do you think there will be a lot of such treasures? Walter naturally had some doubts about Amon's words, but when he thought about Amon's lack of soul power, he believed most of it. Mr. Walter, do you still think it's too early to discuss the ownership of the prize? Discussing the distribution of benefits in advance can effectively avoid conflicts afterwards, so the sooner the better. However, Walter never thought that the team of Northland College could defeat the golden generation of Wuhuan Hall, so he didn't mention it, but at this moment, he really saw such a possibility, and his expression was a little more cautious. Yen Jin must have one. Of course, I need to choose one first. As for this last piece, Mr. Walter, do you have any intention? Amon's voice was a little tempting. although the formation of the Northland College team was influenced by Walter, he was not qualified to participate in the distribution of spoils. If he wanted soul bones, he could only get them through trading. I thought you would leave it to Yanjin's brother. Walter stroked his beard. Amon touched the bottom edge of his monocle with his index finger. Yanjin will give the snow lotus to Lei. After she has the earth dragon golden gourd, it is dispensable for her. After all, the more of these rare treasures, the better. What do you want? Walter knew that the soul bone would definitely not be given to him for nothing. Amon's mouth had a slight arc. 50,000-year-old soul beast. But this time the target is a bit tricky, so I think I need to make up the difference. Walter's expression was slightly gloomy. He had already promised Amon to help him hunt 50,000-year-old soul beasts. As long as it was not too outrageous, he would abide by the agreement and help him hunt, and now Amon actually took the initiative to use a 10,000-year-old soul bone to make up the difference, which shows how difficult it would be to hunt the soul beast he chose. Wait. According to his training progress, he can probably reach level 50 before the Soul Master competition, so I have to help him hunt first, and then I can get the soul bone. And whether the soul bone can be obtained depends on whether they can win the championship. Walter reacted, and the price difference seemed not as big as he thought at first. A soul bone that can be obtained and can be cashed immediately after hunting is different from a soul bone that is unknown whether it can be obtained. Hee. You are really familiar with this empty-handed trick. Walter chuckled. This can also be regarded as an investment. Mr. Walter, you invest in me in advance and help me hunt difficult soul beasts. Then my strength will be enhanced, and I will be more confident to win the Soul Master Competition Championship, and then give you back with soul bones. It is equivalent to me cashing in part of the championship income in advance, and Mr. Walter helps me cash in this part of the income. If the investment goes smoothly, you can get a rich return. Amon had a smile on his face. He knew Walter would not refuse. A 10,000-year soul bone is very valuable even for a soul Douluo. More importantly, a 10,000-year soul bone can help Walter break through to level 90 with a high probability and become a title Douluo. Tell me, what kind of 50,000-year soul beast do you want? Walter asked. Amon's tone was a little serious. Mr. Walter, have you heard of the Mermaid Clan? Chapter 89, Substitute Player. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Mermaids? Sea soul beasts? Walter frowned. He had never heard of this kind of existence. Judging from the word fish, it should be a soul beast in the water, and he guessed it was related to the sea. The mermaids are a kind of half-human and half-soul beast, similar to wolf thieves. Some mermaids can practice like humans. When they break through the level, they need to hunt soul rings, while others are like soul beasts. Amon explained to Walter. Half-human and half-soul beast. Can you get a soul ring if you kill it? Walter asked with some interest. It was also the first time he heard of such a strange existence. Amon replied, it depends on the concentration of soul beast blood in their bodies. If the blood concentration is high, it is more inclined to soul beasts, so soul rings will be produced. If the blood concentration is low, it is more inclined to humans, so their cultivation will be close to humans. If this is the case, then they are likely to be similar to humans, forming settlements similar to villages and towns. You want me to hunt a social creature with soul Douluo strength and human wisdom. Walter is also a top-level soul Douluo. Even special 50,000-year soul beasts can be hunted, but Amon's request is really a bit outrageous. Even a title Douluo may not be able to do it. Sometimes, having human wisdom and emotions may be the biggest flaw. Mr. Walter should understand this. Amon pinched his glasses and smiled. I will select the right target. Leave the intelligence work and early arrangements to me this time. You just need to help me hunt at the right time. Okay. Walter nodded in agreement. In the special training ground for the participating teams of Beatty College, Yanjin leaned against the wall of the ring with his arms around his chest. The light shone diagonally, casting a large shadow on the 10-meter-high ring. Sun Buiyuan came over with 3 people. He looked at the participating teams, did not see the captain Amon, and did not ask much. He introduced to the other 7 people. These are the top 3 in the college's individual competition. They will join your team as substitutes. I hope you can get along well. They were all familiar faces: Brady, Yang Feipen, Cangqiong. There were only a few strong students in the college. Vidal and Alia basically knew them all. You, introduce yourselves. Sun Guiyuan said to the 3 people. Brady, level 38 strong attack war soul master, martial soul flame lion. Yang Feipen, level 36 agility attack war soul master, martial soul golden winged eagle. Cangqiong, level 37 strong attack war soul master, martial soul sword tail dragon. Hey, new companion. Yan Jin walked closer, showing an excited look. There is a rule in our team that new companions need to fight with the original members to test their strength. Rummel picked his nose and said, there is no such rule at all. She added it now. Yan Jin used his elbow to hit his stomach, but was blocked by a barrier. Watching the interaction between the two, Brady smiled knowingly. Well, since Yan Jin is so interested, we will accompany you. Very good. Yan Jin clenched his fists and jumped onto the ring with a backflip. Let's try it, the 3 of you come together. Brady jumped up without hesitation. The other 2 hesitated a little and followed the ring, but they had a hint of anger in their hearts. After all, they were the top 3 in the individual competition of the internal competition of the academy. Wanting to fight 1 against 3, who are they looking down on? 1 against 3. Is she a little too arrogant? Alia sat on the edge of another arena of the same height, supporting her chin with both hands, and asked in a voice like a silver bell. Arrogant? Not necessarily. Vidal recalled the battle between Yan Jin and Amon a few days ago, with a smile on his face. Although that battle ended with Yan Jin being beaten unilaterally, it didn't mean anything. After all, in Vidal's heart, Amon has always been mysterious and powerful. The surging soul power emanated from Yan Jin, emitting a powerful pressure. She also informed the other party of her level and type according to the tradition of soul masters fighting. Yan Jin, 49 level strong attack system fighting soul sect. Even though he was prepared, Vidal fell into silence when he heard her level. Rummel looked as if he had seen a ghost. What's going on? Wasn't she level 40 before? Even if she got the spirit ring, she shouldn't have jumped so much at once, right? Bing Lan's cold face was full of astonishment, and there was a trace of unwillingness in her eyes. 2 years ago, she could fight back and forth with Yan Jin on the ring. Only 2 years have passed, and now there is a gap between them like a chasm. Sun Guiyuan opened his mouth and silently lowered his posture again. According to Yan Jin's previous performance, it didn't seem to be too much pressure for a level 49 spirit power level to beat him, a level 54 spirit king. He seemed to be a very low-profile instructor. Standing opposite Yan Jin, Brady, Yang Feipen, and Cangqiong looked solemn. It was the first time for them to feel such a strong and direct sense of oppression from opponents of this age group. Brady secretly compared Yan Jin and Amon in his heart, and felt that the 2 of them gave people completely different feelings. The former was as violent as a volcano, flamboyant and passionate, and he could feel the heavy pressure coming at him as soon as he stood opposite her. When facing Amon, you won't feel how strong he is at first, but when the fight really starts, you will feel a deep sense of powerlessness, a deep and restrained pressure. Yang Feipen no longer hesitated, and the slight anger in his heart caused by being despised gradually dissipated, leaving only a strong desire to fight. In a golden halo, his hands turned into wings and flew into the sky. Cangqiong's hands turned into claws, his knee joints turned over and bent forward, and his tailbone continued to extend, forming a tail with a bone sword at the end. He quickly ran behind Yan Jin. Staring at her with dark yellow pupils, Yan Jin looked at Brady, who had some lion features in front of him, and laughed. It's a bit like the big cat before. Her hands were covered with magma, and as her martial spirit appeared, the 2 yellow, 1 purple and 1 black soul ring configuration was also revealed to everyone. Black, soul ring, that the 4th soul ring absorbed a 10,000-year soul ring, and this extraordinary fact once again provoked their nerves. The battle ended very quickly. and Brady and Cangqiong were almost knocked off the ring by Yan Jin's all-out big fire breathing as soon as they met. Yang Feipen, who had the ability to fly, circled in the air for a long time, and was finally knocked down by a volcanic bomb. He. Yan Jin proudly put her hands on her hips and smiled on the ring. She jumped off the ring, walked to Lei Yin, and said, "In case there are any more idiots who make Amon unhappy, I will beat them all first." Lei Yin looked at his sister in surprise, not expecting that there was such a deep meaning behind her behavior. "She actually has a brain." Rummel said Lei Yin's thoughts without hesitation. Chapter 90 Tang San, Dugu and Amon. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. After the royal investigator Mischief arrived at Beatty City, he was informed that Kubero had left for the imperial capital to report on his work. He went to Fekris land to visit Marquis Fekris, who was seriously injured and unconscious, and then returned to North City, temporarily acting as the city lord and presiding over the daily affairs of North City. Walter withdrew his minions and lay dormant patiently. The royal family had not waited for Lord Kubero to come back to report on his duties, and classified him as missing. Everyone knew that this disappearance was actually tantamount to death, and Emperor Shuya unleashed his thunderous wrath again. Then, the expected turmoil in the north did not occur, and the situation fell into a strange balance, except for the two sons of Marquis Fekris, who were running around and fighting openly and secretly for the position of Marquis. There was no big trouble. The daily training of the Northland team proceeds in an orderly manner, but Captain Amon has never participated. And Yan Jin rarely participates. The snow lotus that Walter gave to Yan Jin was given to Lei Yin by her. After Lei Yin took it, his soul power level increased from the original level 31 to 36, compared with fairy grass. Snow lotus is obviously inferior. Although the level of improvement is not much lower, it lacks the improvement of cultivation talent. On a sunny morning, a caravan composed entirely of Amon set out from the north and headed towards Hanhai City. In order to avoid being discovered to be abnormal, not all Amon in the caravan showed their soul master talents, except for a few Amon, such as caravan stewards and guards, who showed the strength of the soul lord. The rest of the coachman Amon and handyman Amon were just like ordinary people. The Amons brought some special products from the north on the carriage, peddling or purchasing some goods along the way, heading west as if they were really a caravan. In the sunset forest, Dugu, who had been meditating in seclusion without getting any results, walked out of the canyon and went to Tiendo City to relax. He was invited by Prince Snow Star to visit his mansion. It happened that everyone from Shrek Academy was invited by Qin Ming to go to Tiendo Royal Academy to discuss the merger of Shrek into Tiendo Royal Academy. Xuebang and Xuexing were worried that Prince Xueqing's power would further expand, so they interfered. Due to their obstruction, the merger of the colleges failed, and Shrek and his party left angrily. Dugu also learned from his granddaughter Dugu Yan's story that Tang San had eliminated the snake venom through some method. This aroused his interest and wanted to find out the reason, so he took action directly and captured Tang San, who had left Tiendo Royal Academy and headed to Lanba Advanced Soul Master Academy. When Tang San Yu woke up after being taken to Sunset Forest by Dugu, the first thing he did was to mock Dugu. "Your poison is just garbage." Dugu was furious, but when Tang San revealed the fact that he was poisoned, he couldn't help but be stunned. "Why is there another kid who sees that I have been poisoned by him? Could it be that the kid before was not afraid of death and leaked the secret? No, he shouldn't be so unwise after being poisoned by me. Could this kid be Amon's so-called backup man? Do you know Amon?" Dugu asked with a frown, the killing intent in his eyes lessening a bit. Dugu didn't expect Amon to win the Soul Master competition, but just waited for him to come and work for him in 2 years. He took a fancy to Amon's divergent thinking. After all, a correct idea can make research work a lot smoother. Since Tang San might be Amon's friend, he might also have some good ideas, so his attitude became much kinder. Tang San, who noticed the change in Dugu's attitude, was a little puzzled. "Who is Amon?" Seeing that Tang San's expression didn't look fake, the murderous intent in Dugu's eyes reappeared. "Since you don't know Amon, how did you know that I was poisoned?" That he was no longer prepared to let Tang San leave alive, and frankly admitted the fact that he had been poisoned. Tang San broke out in cold sweat and spoke quickly. "Isn't this kind of thing obvious? On cloudy and rainy days, do you get a gradually increasing numbness and itching on your ribs? Once at noon and midnight, and it lasts for more than an hour. And late at night, around the third watch, there will be a pinprick-like sting on the top of the head and in the heart, and the whole body will convulse for half an hour. Is life worse than death? Seeing that he spoke in such detail, Doupo was also stunned. Amon didn't speak so carefully before. He thought that this kid had something, and his murderous intention was greatly reduced. There are some ways that you can detoxify me? Doupo asked, seeing that there was a turn of events. Tang San gradually let go of the anxiety and uneasiness in his heart, trying to take the initiative. He snorted coldly and said lightly, I won't give you a solution if you can. Just kill me. You will only die more miserably than me, and your beautiful granddaughter will end up like you in the end. Life spans 70 years, so Tang San expected that Doupo didn't care about him, but he wouldn't care about his granddaughter. Tang San didn't know that title Douluo could live for 300 years, but one thing was true, Doupo cared about his granddaughter. However, after Amon gave the idea, Doupo was able to detoxify his granddaughter, but he lacked a high-quality soul bone. What troubled him now was just how to detoxify himself. Are you threatening me? Doupo's eyes were filled with coldness. He waved his hand and light green smoke enveloped Tang San. Ah! Tang San screamed hysterically. He felt that every muscle and every inch of his skin was being eaten by ants and burned by flames. No, this is not right. How could he not care about his granddaughter? Could he really be a cold and heartless person? But judging from his previous interaction with Dugu Yan at the Tiendo Royal Academy, it doesn't seem like that. Recovering some rationality in the pain, Tang San gritted his teeth and shouted, Stop, I can detoxify you. Doupo retracted the poison mist and sneered, Boy, don't you have a lot of backbone? Tang San couldn't help but sneer back, I just didn't expect you to be as heartless as a snake and scorpion, and don't even care about your own granddaughter. Doupo's expression turned cold, and he waved his hand again, covering Tang San with poison mist, letting him struggle in pain, wailing and screaming, until a quarter of an hour later, he retracted the poison mist again. Little ghost, don't challenge my patience. Tang San twitched, and it took a long time for him to catch his breath. He looked at Doupo with a look of hatred and a trace of fear that he himself could not detect. Damn it, damn it, damn it. If I don't take revenge, I, Tang San, swear not to be a human being. He shouted wildly in his heart. He lowered his head and covered his face with his hair to prevent his hatred from being noticed by the other party. He took a few deep breaths, adjusted his emotions, and then raised his head again. Tell me, how do you plan to detoxify me? Doupo asked. Tang San did not say anything sarcastic this time. He tried his best to control his emotions and asked back in a calm tone. Will I be worthless to you if I say it? Would I be so stupid? Doupo smiled contemptuously. Maybe you still have some brains, but you are definitely not smart. Simply tell me your ideas, I will judge for myself, and if it is feasible, we will continue to talk.